Hello, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin. These are the Ospreys welcoming you once again to Mystery Island Studio, where on Fridays we get together with Marcia and we talk about the news of the week, whatever else is on your mind. This is a live open chat. We'd love to see you in the chat room. If not, I hope you enjoy the show, and we're going to get started in about 30. Welcome back once again. I'm John O'Loughlin and my wife, Marcia Keith. Good morning, Marcia.
Good morning, John. Good morning, everybody.
So glad to have you join me again, Marcia. Thank you so much for making time for us here at McDuff Lives.
Oh, well, thank you for letting me be part of the conversation. I always enjoy it. I always enjoy being here, and I always appreciate you guys being here too.
Yeah, very cool. I'm wondering what we have lined up in terms of you were going to check on the top 5 news stories and see if people agree with us. What are the top ones, and then maybe have a little chat about it.
Exactly. I did some online searching, looking for various sources, and ended up going to ChatGPT to see what ChatGPT decided are the top 5 news stories. And I actually asked for 2 separate lists. One is a list of the top 5 national news stories, and one is a list of the top 5 international news stories. So, yes, we have those lists available to chat about today.
And anytime you want to, we can start going through one of those lists that you did. I mean, it's up to you this morning. Pick a news story, or pick a list. Would it be the national or the international that you want to start with?
Well, let's start with the national. What do you think ChatGPT would name as the top national news story this morning?
This morning.
I'm saying this morning, yeah, but I did what the way I phrased it was, what are the top national news stories of the week?
Of the week, okay. And my first one is going to be Charlie Kirk.
Not even on the list.
What?
Yeah.
How could that be?
Don't know.
It was the biggest thing all over everywhere, except for maybe I stopped paying attention about Tuesday.
Well, I'll tell you, as I was asking, I did get one list that no, it's not in this one. I did get one list that mentioned Charlie Kirk, but it's not in this final list that ChatGPT gave me.
Well, what's ChatGPT's number 1 news story of the week as of this morning?
As of this morning, the number 1 national news story, according to ChatGPT, is the indictment of James Comey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my fellow William and Mary alumnus. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I'm not very familiar with what he's being charged with or anything, so I can't really comment on it. It sounds like the beginning of a number of indictments that will be coming down against the people involved in Russiagate, the dossier, the election fraud alleged, and and running foreign policy with an auto pen.
Well, that was not part of the indictment. Though, did you see that Trump has just put up a new gallery of presidential portraits, and instead of Biden, he put in the auto pen?
I saw it. That was pretty. Trump loves to troll. See, this
Oh
is
my
why
God.
this is why I think people misunderstand him so much, because they don't see, like, when he said that um, Zelensky and Europe and NATO are going to do fine. They're going to win this war. I mean, they're going to restore the original boundaries. It's just going to take time, but you're going to be fine. And and we'll sell the weapons, and just go ahead, do your thing. And people are saying, "Oh my God, Trump is flipped. Trump is now the new Biden." But no, he was trolling them.
He loves to be outrageous, and trolling is a wonderful word. Yes, that's exactly what he's doing. He's just being outrageous, and he's not afraid to do it in any situation. It's very unprecedented. No, but Comey was indicted on charges of making false statements and obstructing a congressional proceeding tied to his 2020 testimony about Russiagate. I believe he said that he did not authorize leaks, and they are claiming that that was a lie, that he did authorize leaks. There was a third charge, and I forget what that was, but the grand jury declined to indict him on that third charge. So it's just these two.
Mm-hmm.
And ChatGPT cites The Guardian as its source here. And it says the move has drawn major criticism about politicization of the justice system. Politicization.
Yeah.
Of the justice system.
Yeah.
And I find that ironic, because all of that activity that took place during the Biden administration, not to mention during Trump's first and more importantly, during Trump's first administration, where we had to suffer through impeachment mania. Tell me how that wasn't politicized. I want to put political in there, and I have trouble with that word, but they didn't politicize the justice system during that period. It's been done constantly, forever. I mean, come on, you could even make the case that Watergate was a politicization of the justice system, because it was politics and it was using the justice system to go after a political foe who, oh, by the way, happened to be guilty. Just because it's politically related doesn't mean you're not guilty. Doesn't mean that there isn't justification for this action. So, okay, get over it. It's political. Okay, doesn't mean he's not guilty.
I would add one more layer of political to what you just said, and that is that the ChatGPT chose to use The Guardian to source its number one news story of the week. And well, if there is any better mouthpiece for MI6, I'm not sure, but Guardian is certainly among the top ones.
Yeah, and the first four of the stories for the national news are sourced from The Guardian. The fifth is from Wikipedia, which I find a little bit odd.
But I just want to make the point that it's a political choice by ChatGPT.
Yes.
Which, once again, who's politicizing who here?
Right. Exactly.
Let me go talk to Toto a second.
Okay. Well, I will check the chat then while you're gone and see. Good morning, everybody. Razvedka says, Trump is trolling, but Zelensky seems to not understand the significance. That's actually a really good point. Very good point. And this comment from Razvedka about the Trump trolling. Trump is trolling, but Zelensky seems to not understand the significance. I think that's very well said.
Zelensky, the guy with the $1 billion nose, I mean, he just does. He's probably scared to death all the time, except for when he's high, and he's always doing exactly what he's told to do and nothing different. And so, trying to persuade Zelensky of anything is like, forget about it. The guy is just a useful idiot to put in front of the real power in Ukraine.
Yep.
And that's the oligarchs and Kolomoisky and all the people that that support the organized crime and the trafficking, the drug labs, everything else. It's a disgusting organization that is fronted by Zelensky, in my humble opinion.
Yep. Well, Brightmore offers a suggestion on what might be one of the top stories of the week. Hegseth orders top brass to attend last-minute meeting at Quantico early next week. That from USA Today. This after Trump said he will supply NATO with weapons to do what they want with, and after Trump called Russia's army a paper tiger. And yes, I agree. I agree that that's a big story. And in the national news stories, I'll say ChatGPT did not mention that one. But I think, calling all of the top brass from the American military to a meeting, unprecedented again, never been done before. That's pretty amazing. And the fact that we live just across the river and downstream a little bit from Quantico makes me a bit nervous because, boy, ain't that a great target.
Quantico Marine Base, also the training ground for the FBI. And my father went there for training in the early 50s. They had all kinds of things like a race track. You could drive your car as fast as you wanted to around and try to learn how to be a real skillful FBI agent. We went to the FBI/Marine Corps picnics when we were children.
Wow.
And they had all kinds of interesting things for kids. You could climb up into the tanks and the big howitzers and everything. And
as a little kid, that must have been incredibly cool.
Yeah. Not only that, but the first year we went, helicopters came along and dropped little parachutes, like hundreds of parachutes that had a little piece of candy or something on them. And that was pretty cool, except for some kid got hurt and then we couldn't do it anymore.
I was about to say, I'm surprised that they even did that back then.
I think it might have been the inspiration for WKRP's turkey show.
Yeah.
As God is my witness.
I thought turkeys
could fly.
No, Brightmore. ChatGPT says that the second big story is the new tariffs and trade moves by the Trump administration, which is to me not a big story. This is an ongoing story that has been ongoing since the beginning of the administration, and it's constantly in flux. And how it plays out financially for everybody is still to be determined. It could take years for this whole tariff thing with Trump to play out and to show whether or not it's beneficial to commerce, to U.S. coffers, to whatever. But it's not a big story anymure.
Apparently it is in The Guardian.
Yes.
Because of what I said before. What it's saying is that ouch, this hurts, because it does hurt the financial interests behind the City of London. That's just, it's a tell, this hurts them. So, and, for those that feel that Trump is fighting against the deep state, then it's a blow against the empire.
Exactly. Third story is the looming government shutdown and firing threats. I guess that is a big story.
Is that also in The Guardian?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So what do they care about our government, our administration shutdowns? It's like they should be worried about problems in Great Britain.
Right. With Congress failing to pass a funding extension, the White House has ordered agencies to plan for potential mass firings, a departure from the usual furlough approach during shutdowns. It says the Guardian +2. Don't know what that means.
Anyway, this is Trump, playing poker with things.
With Congress, because
yeah,
of Congress can avoid that by passing some kind of a
yeah,
budget or a continuing resolution or something in order to prevent the shutdown, which would, I mean, the government funding ends September 30th, which is what, Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, somewhere. What's today, the 26th? Yeah, Tuesday. So,
brinksmanship. But it's kind of like Brer Rabbit saying, "No, don't throw me in the briar patch." It's like the trolling in that is amazing, because it's exactly what Trump wants to do, is to fire a whole bunch of federal employees that he thinks are not carrying their weight and are excess expense. So if they do that, then he can blame Congress for him having to let go, unfortunately, a few 100,000 people.
right,
Yeah.
right. Exactly. And, I think I've said it before here. I know I've said it before elsewhere, but I am not at all opposed to streamlining and simplifying our government. I mean, we all have known for decades that the federal government is totally bloated and full of amazing bureaucracy and personnel. And I forget, when this whole thing started with Trump, I looked up the number of people who work for the federal government in Washington, D.C. And, obviously it's a big number. And I suppose that's going to significantly impact the local economy. But again, there's going to have to be a little bit of pain short term for some long term improvement. So sorry to all those who lost their jobs. I was once laid off by local government. It happens. Thousands and thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have been laid off by the private sector over the years, maybe even up in the millions. Who knows? But it happens. It happens when you realize that you've become too big.
Let's get back to some of these comments over here from Razvedka7.
Oh, sorry.
And who else? No, you go ahead.
Okay, well, I was just going to imagine that says the United States federal government is the largest employer in the U.S. and often cited as the largest employer in the world, employing over 2 million civilian workers. Imagine that. I am a little surprised by that. I guess if you include the military, maybe, but imagine that says over 2 million civilian workers.
Civilian.
You're right. So that doesn't include the military. So, that's an interesting number. I would have not expected it to be that high. Now, you were going to say about a comment here?
Oh, I was just got distracted. I was going to go look up, see what numbers I came up with for federal employees. But no, I wanted to get back to Brightmore. Yeah. Did we talk about this? You did mention it at Quantico.
Yes.
And it's interesting, aside from my personal aside on that, the context includes the delivery of a lot of unscalable fencing to the White House. I thought that was interesting. And
Wait. Say this again.
There was a report of a large load of fencing that was described as unscalable fencing.
Okay.
Delivered to the White House, according to a report I read yesterday. And I think of, the Insurrection Act, and I think of his designation of Antifa as a terrorist organization. And I think of the powers that he has under emergency powers. And the idea that he would bring all of these, generals together admirals, all of the top brass together to say, look, we're going to take some action here, and I want you to be behind it. And if anybody's got any problems with it, let's sort it out right now.
Why does it have to be live? Why make all of this top brass travel from all corners of the globe?
Well, I hadn't thought of that. I don't know. I guess if it's kind of like Trump doesn't want to use solar panels. He doesn't want to use any type of artificial light other than traditional. I mean, he's a traditionalist in terms of form, and that's another signal to me that he's planning something akin to war.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yes, and the fact that, as I said, the question that it has to be live tells me he doesn't trust any of the online platforms available for some kind of an online communication to all of the top brass.
That's the real answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, making okay.
Cocoa coffee.
Cocoa gagging is commentary, I guess. But anyway, I just think that there is not danger, but a lack of wisdom in making all the top brass be in one location at the same time. And oh, by the way, according to my Google search, there are approximately 2.3 to 2.4 million federal civilian employees. Though this number fluctuates, the count excludes active duty military personnel, but includes U.S. Postal Service workers. So I could see that with U.S. Postal Service workers, because everybody has a mailman except for us. And it also includes civilian employees of DOD. Most federal civilian jobs are in the executive branch, with the Departments of Defense, Veteran Affairs, and Homeland Security enjoying the largest share of these workers. So there you go. So imagine that was right.
How many CIA workers are there on the payroll?
Yeah, well,
sorry, that's classified.
That's right. That's right.
That is my big point this week, is that, if Harry Truman had been a little smarter and not let the CIA turn into a active intelligence, skullduggery organization, if President Eisenhower had actually required Dulles to be responsible to the president and to disclose to him what he was doing. And finally, if the powers behind Allen Dulles and the dark forces that exist did not have the opportunity to assassinate President Kennedy, and if the assassination were revealed and the sources of it uncovered early, then, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody, we would not be going through this hell right now. We would not be. And it has been the American people asleep at the wheel, because they've been, hypnotized with television and Walter Cronkite and war all over the place and fear and, everything that has been done since that assassination has been part of the plan to turn us into powerless serfs that are not ever going to ever be able to control our personal future. This has got to be the number one front burner issue, is dismantling this CIA monstrosity and all of its connections to MI5, MI6, and all of the other crazy intelligence agencies like the Israelis. we've got to dismantle that. We've got to stop it because they have the upper hand by far at this point. And as long as we keep following their lead and throwing mud back and forth from left to right, right to left, left to right, that is the dialectic. That is what historians have been calling the dialectic, and if we take that word and understand what it means that progress is made by opposition. And we've got opposition on the left, we've got opposition on the right, we've got them, a lot of them fired up to almost to the point of a war. And that's what they want, because now it's, thesis on one side, antithesis on the other side, and then synthesis. And that is the way we are played, like a cat's paw game, where they are the cat and we are the mouse, and our whole polity, our whole government, our economy, everything is controlled by them pushing the mouse this way for a little while and then pushing the mouse back that way for a little while, and the mouse then goes in the direction that they have already laid out, which continues them to be the most powerful force on the planet, and continues their rape and pillage of everything that we have. That's been my big thought this week.
I can see. Yeah. Yeah. And I think very often, so many of these other things that happen that we talk about that make these lists of the top stories are there to distract us from what you're talking about.
Yeah, but even like the Charlie Kirk thing is got to be seen in a dialectical fashion as a response to the George Floyd thing. So you got your Messiah, dead Messiah. Now we've got a dead Messiah. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't have called George Floyd a Messiah. He became one afterwards,
exactly.
But Charlie Kirk was already somewhat of a, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think the ramping up of his messiahness after his death has been extremely.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of him, but many had.
All right.
So anyway, back to the news stories. This is a little interesting to me, only because I'm seeing a word that I hadn't seen before, and that is number 4 is Trump's UN speech attacking the UN. At the UN General Assembly, Trump called the United Nations feckless and pernicious. Now, I had not seen feckless being quoted in some of the stories that I read, and I can't imagine Trump using such a word. But then again,
I can.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. He never seems to use big words.
What's interesting is that you haven't seen this story yet.
I've seen the story. I have not seen the quote of using the word feckless.
Well, from my point of view, from the feed that I look at, that is a huge thing that everybody's been digging into, like, wow, and he said this, and he said this, and he said this, and he said this. He was really angry because of a number of glitches that happened as he was ascending an escalator, and
he and Melania, it just said,
and then the teleprompter didn't work.
Yep.
And he's thinking, these guys are screwing with me. And so he really laid into them. Now, I didn't watch the speech, but the snippets I saw were a lot more than just that one. He really gave him hell.
And I knew all of that. I just had not seen that one word. I think it's interesting because I'm sorry, Trump's vocabulary is often very limited. And a word like feckless usually comes out of somebody who has a much broader vocabulary. I don't know. I think, again, the whole UN thing was totally overblown. It's not that big of a story, but yet it becomes one.
Oh, well, the content of it, I think, is a big story.
The president blasting the UN, yes.
Well, he also really dug into Europe. And his criticism of Europe was really, I think, scathing and dead on. That's why I think it's a big story.
Okay. Well, the fifth story mentioned here is the U.S. naval surge and military moves in the Caribbean.
Yes.
We're now on what, 3, 4? I forget how many that we have now blown up. At least 3.
And this brings me back to Razvedka's comment. I guess we must fight Venezuela. Waste of time. Our shell-based oil is needing a refresh, I guess.
Exactly. It is all about oil. Absolutely.
That's I do want to report that as you may know, I watch Military Summary Channel on YouTube, which is a daily battlefield and political situation report, and he reported that these hits on Russian petroleum facilities, refining facilities, are taking a toll in Russia, and that gas and oil are starting to become a problem for the Russians. So that does lend some credence to what Trump was saying, that Russia is a paper tiger and that they can be taken down. The control of oil is what it's all about. It's all about, the Middle East war, the Ukraine war. It's about pipelines. It's about, resources. And so it's a big resource play. And all of this political stuff is again, it's just this dialectic that we are forced to go through because maybe it's human nature to have a two-party system, but that's what we're stuck with is the left and the right. And they can antagonize either one of us whenever they want to and make us throw more mud at the other side.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Let's see before we look at the international list, what others have to say. Razvedka says, I listened to the CNN thing with the woman who tried to kill President Ford. She made one big point. She said in San Francisco, we all thought revolution was at hand.
Squeaky from?
Sarah Jane Moore. She just died.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Several people tried to take a shot at Ford. I think Squeaky Fromm was another one of them. Yeah. No, this was Sarah Jane Moore that just died. I'm assuming that that's who CNN was interviewing, and because I did read that she did die recently.
I didn't see the interview, but the point is, I think that he's citing a resonance of that moment with what's going on now.
Yep.
Where there's polls going around, in college campuses. Is it okay to use violence to stop hate speech and things like that? That they're definitely stirring up people to try to get us fighting.
Brightmore says, DOJ is investigating Soros and other Summer of Love sponsors. Trump has designated Antifa as a terrorist group, and National Guard units are being deployed mostly to blue citizens. Is Trump... Wait. Oops, that's wrong. I clicked on the wrong follow-up. Sorry about that, Brightmore. Is Trump... Now it jumped me way ahead. Sorry. Here we go. Trying to prevent the mass rioting and looting disguised as democratic protests. Violent protests certainly informed the midterm elections during the Summer of Love.
Yeah, deployment of National Guard and making sure that all the generals and admirals are in line with it. This is violating, the posse comitatus, and It should not be happening except for in an extraordinary situation. And the question is, are we really in an extraordinary national emergency
Right.
or not? And, I kind of go along with Trump on this.
What, that everything's an emergency?
No, that this particular situation right now is an emergency.
Okay. Brightmore also says one of NASA's looming project is to use a nuclear explosion to protect the moon from an asteroid strike in 2032. I hadn't read about that.
I wonder what the budget for that is. I mean, it seems like they're sitting in the back room thinking of things. How can we get some more money? We've got to have a threat. Let's go look for a threat. Let's go see if there's an asteroid that might possibly hit the moon, during our lifetime, and then spend a lot of money to figure out how to prevent it.
Okay.
I mean, that's not where I think tax money should go. That's so speculative.
But do you think that tax money should go to space exploration in general?
Well, it's an interesting question. I think, we've got a lot more problems than trying to know what's going on in outer space. And I don't mind a little bit of science to see, poke around and see what's out there, but we're not gaining anything from Elon Musk's rockets. We're not gaining anything except for he gets, smarter and better at building rockets. But I don't think that it's appropriate for us to spend huge, trillions of dollars on things like going to Mars or any of that.
Or exploring a meteoroid, metallic meteoroid?
Right.
Meteor?
Right. I think, first let's take care of the old and the sick people and the people that have nobody to support them. Let's get out into the small towns and reform their food system so that they're not killing themselves with crap. And let's start spending some money on the health and the welfare and the productivity of the American people. I don't think there's any rocket that's ever going to be more important than taking care of the citizens of this country.
What about the scientific innovation that comes out of space exploration that ultimately somehow or another benefits people back on Earth in the long run?
I don't object to it. I think it's okay, but that's not direct investment. That's collateral.
Okay.
That might happen and might not happen.
Mm-hmm.
What we need is a major injection of health into our people, into our economy, into our education system, into our automobiles, into every aspect of this country. It needs to be lifted up, especially the infirm and people that are elderly, that don't have. And there's thousands and millions of people that are in desperate need in this country.
Well, and many of them are in desperate need because our system, be it private or public, has not just allowed it to happen, but made it happen.
Yeah. And,
through this whole terrible healthcare system we have, this terrible, terrible food policy that we have, it has contributed to a lot of suffering and a lot of bad health. Brightmore says, beef producers again plan to raise less cattle, produce less beef. Cattle farmers cite rising costs. Beef production was purposely curtailed last year because farmers claim that drought. Oops, sorry, once again, that drought conditions reduced the amount of grass for cattle, is raising fewer cows part of the global food chain plan? I, first of all, don't believe the plan. Once again, I think it's, similar to Trump saying, yeah, NATO, you can take back all of Ukraine's territory. I think the cattle producers have no intention of raising less, of producing less beef, because that's going to hurt their income. What they are doing is bluffing and saying, all of you who love your hamburgers, do something about this, because we need to something. I'm not sure exactly what it is their end game is here, but I've never seen any industry say, "Oh, we're going to cut back in production because we have to." No, any industry who makes changes does it to increase profits, not decrease.
Yeah, that's what Starbucks said. They said we're reducing our workforce in order to
Non-retail.
to reinvigorate our image and make a better product or something like that.
Right. Yeah. I think the cattle people are bluffing. I think that they're just trying to make us get scared, because I frankly don't see the need for beef in this world, but that's a whole separate thing.
Oh, we've missed a lot of comments.
Yeah. Paula's here, says, "Hi from the Netherlands, yet a country with uprising individuals." Yeah, I think the Europeans are often more likely to engage and uprise than we are sometimes.
But the Netherlands is in deep trouble with their government, and who was it that mentioned about the British announcing that every adult is going to have a digital ID?
Yes,
in the
I read
future?
that too.
See,
A digital anybody who wants to work has to have a digital ID in order to work.
yeah,
It's a way of dealing with immigration and foreign people taking their jobs.
yeah, it's definitely going to help with immigration, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now here's a question I'm sure is on many people's minds. Brightmore asks, with YouTube's new policy of reinstating channels previously banned because of COVID misinformation, is there a possibility that John can retrieve his banned channel and shows?
I don't know.
That's the
I
answer.
just don't know. I started to look into it, and the path is not clear to me. If there's a law firm that won a case that said, here's the result, and I think I would like to know, to whom do I address my petition?
Mm-hmm.
And well, because I have tried so many times with YouTube, and it just feels like you're talking to a mindless computer that just shuts you down, which is what it was, because they called anything that was not straight from the mainstream media on COVID, they called it medical misinformation,
Mm-hmm.
and they shut it down. So I've got over 1,000 shows that I can't see because I didn't have copies of them. In my ignorance, I thought you could trust YouTube. That was back in the day.
No, well, and you know what? Don't call it ignorance. Call it naivete.
Naivete. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Raz likes my mouse thing. Good. Yeah. I think it's cat and mouse, and they just push the little mouse this way or that way, wherever they need him to go,
Yes.
But thanks for the kind wishes, Brightmore and everyone. I certainly would like to get my channel back. But 2 channels they took away. The first one, if nobody knows, is called McDuff, Kennedy's Man to Smash the CIA. And that was when I really had fire in my belly. And those shows, I think, would be great to go back and review. And I kind of, as you could tell a little earlier today, I still have that fire in my belly. And McDuff's mission is certainly the same as it was, and that is to smash the CIA.
Yes.
it is this monster that is controlling things from behind the scenes, completely unelected and completely financed by all the oil companies and all the big companies and the banks and the royals of Europe and all, it's just this great big cartel of concentrated wealth that is got this thing called the CIA that it can play with. And, within that, there is a murder incorporated.
Yes.
There absolutely is.
Yes. Imagine that, says NASA's budget for fiscal year 2024 is 25.4 billion. It represents 0.37% of the 6.8 trillion the United States spent that year.
Yeah.
0.37%. These are numbers that, when you look at 25 billion being only 0.37% of anything, that just goes to show you how big these numbers are.
And how little our purchasing power really is.
Right.
Our purchasing power is goes down every time they add another zero to the number,
Right.
And it goes down dramatically. So, like if you want a 155 howitzer shell, from the factory, it probably costs $50 or $60 or $80,000 each, more than our cars. And they're firing off hundreds of thousands of these shells every day.
Yep.
And that's money that we will never come anywhere close to having. They are so wealthy that they can throw away a Patriot missile system every month or two, which is $100 million or more, and they just keep on building more of them.
Right.
God.
Brightmore notes that so many private companies already invest billions in pursuit of controlling space. And this is the thing. You get private companies investing, then there is no need for the public sector, government, to invest. And that is, I think, where very often on many of these issues, there is confusion. What is the role of the private sector? What is the role of the public sector? Whose money gets invested in these things? And to me, the answer should be who benefits from the money. And if it's the private sector that benefits, then the private sector needs to be the one spending the money.
But from a military point of view, space is the ultimate high ground.
Well, that leads right into Razvedka's comment. Space Command will get tons of money for admin move for new buildings.
But who knows, what's going on up there now with the militarization of space. And it's getting militarized. And that's where tons of money goes, for goodness sakes. And it's all a black budget. You never know what NASA's really doing. You never know any more than what the CIA is always doing. This is the usurpation of the American people's rights under the Constitution in order to control the government and control the future.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
And
nothing less than that.
Yeah. Oh, Razvedka points out that cows also, you know what? For some reason, all right, I like milk cows. So cows don't just provide beef, they provide milk. And I'm going to bite my tongue on that one.
We like cows.
I like cow. I would like to get to know cows better.
Yeah.
I keep seeing all these wonderful reels about these cows that like to be cuddled and have their ears scratched and sang to.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, I would love to hang out with cows. They just look, the ones that trust humans, they just look so adorable. I want to go meet a cow that lets me pet it and scratch its nose. And then, you see pictures of people who have cows that'll lie down in the field with them. And
yeah, little children with a great big old cow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they go and clean the stall and, that's feed them,
What are you saying?
I'm saying, after they shoot the video, with the cute kid and the cow,
Uh-huh.
then you go inside, you go in the barn and get your shovel, and you start shoveling stuff, and you shovel it until you've cleaned the stall.
You're saying that that's the other side of having a relationship with a cow?
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, no, that's not a part that I would want to
yeah.
do, which is why I have no cows.
No cows here.
Yeah. I just want to go someplace where I can hang out with cows, and then
Yeah,
when it's time to shovel the stalls,
somebody
I'll
else
move
does.
on.
Sarah Jane Moore, you are correct. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So Prester John says private companies are subsidized
Yeah,
by the public to pursue activities in space.
I think that's right.
When you say subsidized by the public, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and so many people, for example, I know one person, and I've known a handful of people living here in the Washington D.C. area who actually work directly for NASA. But so many of the people that I know who are involved in NASA projects don't work for NASA. They work, for example, my former coworker whose husband is a heliophysicist and does research on the sun. He's working on NASA projects, but his employer is Catholic University, who has contracts to do work for NASA. And then, of course, our nephew, who works on NASA projects, he worked for, oh gosh, I can't even remember the name of the company he worked for when he was living here. Orbital.
orbital.
He worked for Orbital, and so he was private sector. He's always worked for the private sector, but then Orbital was acquired by what I think eventually was acquired by Northrop Grumman, or Northrop, I guess is what it's called now. But now he works for Jet Propulsion Laboratories, which is part of University of California. Is it Cal State? That's what it is. Cal State runs Jet Propulsion Laboratories. So, he works for a university now. And so many universities are also doing NASA projects. I think Arizona State is very, very involved in the project that he's on. So this, yes, the private sector, the education sector, I don't know if you would call that private or public, a little bit of both, I suppose. Yeah, they all have these NASA contracts and all of these very, very pricey NASA projects because there's a bunch of projects going on that we never hear anything about, like the projects Psyche, where they're traveling to the Psyche asteroid. That's what it is. It's an asteroid to learn more about metallic asteroids and the Earth's core. Imagine that, says Larry Ellison, as co founder and chairman of Oracle, controls significant healthcare data through the company's 2022 acquisition of Cerner, a major provider of electronic health record systems. I did not know that about Oracle. That's interesting.
I think Ellison is like the largest single donor to APAC, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't know that. I did read that Ellison has just surpassed Musk in terms of being the richest person in the world.
So, yeah, follow the money.
Follow the money. Ooh, imagine that Imagine that is a source of data. USDA livestock subsidies top 72 billion. All right, there you go. So that's what the cattlemen are after with the threat to reduce beef production.
Mm-hmm.
They want to protect their subsidies. It's all about the money. Either way, private, public, whatever the industry, it's all about the money. That's a good question, Brightmore. Brightmore mentions, is the drop in the price of Tylenol stock one of the top 5 stories? Or has Big Pharma launched into its Tylenol disinformation campaign? It's interesting because I didn't mean to do that. Tylenol had the I don't know if everybody remembers the Tylenol. I guess it was from the 80s when people taking Tylenol got poisoned and died because Tylenol had been a batch of Tylenol in a store. Somebody had gone into a store, opened packages of Tylenol, and put poison in the packages. And so then people would buy these packages, take them home, take Tylenol, and die. And I think 5 or 6 people died before they figured out the connection. And that's one of the reasons why today's packaging, when you buy drugs, has, so many layers of wrapping and seals, and it's all completely sealed. And I remember at the time, everybody said, well, that's it for Tylenol. And Tylenol came back from that. Tylenol did an amazing job coming back from that and maintaining its top position as the provider of acetaminophen. So, can they come back from this one? And did I see somewhere that Tylenol issued a statement saying, "Yeah, we've always told pregnant women not to take Tylenol."
Yeah, that went around on my feed easily.
Yeah.
It's I almost copied it and put it on my Facebook, which I kind of reserve more for local and personal
Uh-huh.
friends and stuff,
Uh-huh.
just as a kind of like, don't eat the Tylenol just to spite, if you're pregnant. But no, it's true that they had said that in 2017 when somebody asked them, and it came out very clearly. We do not recommend our products to be consumed during pregnancy, period.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, before we run out of time, since we only have 4 minutes, I'll just very quickly run through the top 5 international stories. And one is the Gaza Transitional Authority. The next is escalating drone tensions in Europe and Russia's provocations. Third is China's climate pledge and global emission policy. Third, diplomatic fallout from Trump's UN speech. And fifth is tension along the US, Russia, Ukraine front and Eastern Europe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very tense. That's for sure.
Yes.
What was the first one again?
The first one was the Gaza Transitional Authority.
Right. And I had an interesting personal interaction with this yesterday. I saw that Italy is sending a warship to escort the flotilla, and I posted it up on my Facebook because we should be doing this too.
Right. I did see
And
you
then
posted that.
this morning, I happened to see
Just imagine that.
Here we go. Are we back now?
I don't know. Are we?
I think we might be back.
No sound, says Polly.
Still no sound.
Yeah. And it's 12 o'clock. Back on, yeah, says Prester John. Okay. So something you wiggled made a difference. It's back, says Paula. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all for the notice there.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know where we were when it went out. It looks like it was lost the sound, mic, no sound. What were we talking about? You were talking about Maloney.
Right. And you were surprised that Maloney said that she doesn't support this flotilla, although they're sending a ship to protect people. And I thought about it, and I thought, she says, and the Italian government could have all this food there in hours. You don't need to do this, But then the question is, well, why isn't the Italian government doing it? And to look at it that way as a confrontation by unarmed, peaceful people that are, on a humanitarian mission and risking their lives to do it, it's a really interesting situation, and I'm going to keep following it. And, I don't know how this is going to end. It's very, very frightening in terms of, what the Israelis will do when these little boats get up to their territorial waters. Very interesting and concerning, but I have to say that the people involved in it, including Greta, I give them credit for having the balls to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the Code Pink founders was on the last one. I don't know if she's on this one. I haven't seen, but a remarkable woman who I met when I went up to the Capitol and protested with Code Pink.
Okay, well, we hope for a successful and peaceful outcome of the flotilla. And
you know what I think? I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's the biggest story of the week. Because humanitarian aid to people who are being killed off and removed and treated in the most inhumane way is, I think, probably the most important issue in this world.
I know we have to go, but I just want to add Razvedka Seven's comment, good use for the Pope. Pope Leo, get out there, lead the charge on this, be a mensch, be a Pope. All right, Marcia.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
That's all I got for today. Thanks, everybody. And thank you for taking all these issues so seriously as we do here, and for the fun as we have along the way. Bye now.